Hello everyone, Joshua Myers here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Friday the 13th, Part 2 from 1981.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Jeff?
The day you count on for terror is not over. Friday the 13th, Part 2, rated R.
Friday the 13th, Part 2 stars Amy Steele, Adrian King, Warrington Gillette, and Betsy Palmer, and is directed by Steve Miner. The plot of Friday the 13th Part 2 is that 5 years after the horrible bloodbath at Camp Crystal Lake, the new counselors are unconcerned about warnings to stay away from the infamous site. Carefree, the young people roam the area. One by one, they are attacked and brutally slaughtered. What did I like about the movie? Honestly, for me, I did honestly like the camp counselor characters a lot better in this one than the first movie. I actually did. And I could tell at least it tried to focus much more on just one character. Like it tried to focus on mainly Amy Steele's character as Ginny. So, but she's a pretty good character in it. So, also it's cool that this is the first movie to actually really feature Jason Voorhees in this, who in this movie is portrayed by Warrington Gillette. So, also the music's okay. I honestly think they did a lot better with just the volume leveling of the music in the movie, especially even the intense moments. Because there was times in the first movie, like the music was overlapping the dialogue and I could barely hear the dialogue. So, that's an improvement. I also did like the opening scene for the most part, although we'll get to that in my negatives. What did I not like about the film? Honestly, for me, it's kind of the same problem I had with Insidious Chapter 2. Whereas, like, for the first, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes this time around, maybe 20 minutes. So, yeah, either around that time, was just a whole big recap of what happened in the first film. And this came out a year after the original movie. It's not like it came out, let's say, few years, maybe 5 years tops. No, this came out exactly a year after the original film. And everybody should have remembered, what happened in the first movie. Then again, you could argue that there's a lot of people now these days that just assume Jason Voorhees is in the original movie when he wasn't. So, I guess. So, but to me, it felt like it just, I just feel like it didn't need to be there. So, and could focus much more on setting up a sequel than recapping what we already saw with the first movie. Also, for the most part, another thing I don't like about it is that there's honestly not much of a story here. The most that happens is supposedly they're trying to, there's another camp that's being set up that's close by Camp Crystal Lake, which is now off limits. It's, no trespassing allowed, so yeah, that's the most that's really going on with the story. For the most part, it's just Jason appears all of a sudden, and it's going around killing these counselors one by one. Also, it feels like at times there's a lot of repeat moments from the first film, not just recapping, but this definitely started to become formulaic. Also, I do kind of sort of like the look. Here's the thing. I do like the look of Sackhead Jason. I do. But I do not like his portrayal in this movie. It's like, how's anybody supposed to be intimidated by this guy? He's kind of a klutz. He's just, yeah, you could take him down very easily. no problem. That's not intimidating. He even falls on himself at times in the movie. And honestly, the biggest problem to me by far with this movie is that it feels unfinished. Like, because like 20 minutes of the movie is dedicated to basically recapping the first movie. I feel like they did that because of the fact that it almost seems like a lot of the times, like filming was never finished, so for some of those it's just like, okay, let's just add some of these scenes, or just, this will be our ending, and it's like, I feel like this film is unfinished. That's just the word I describe this film. It's unfinished. Also, the makeup effects, not as good in this one as the first one. That's probably because of the fact that Tom Savini, who did the makeup effects for the first one, decided not to work on this one. He instead decided to work on a film called The Burning, which I have not seen that one. I may probably check it out at some point, but... and the reason he decided to work on that film instead of this one, because he read the script and he's like, but Jason's walking around everywhere? Because at the end of the first film, when you do see Jason, okay, spoiler words, when you do see Jason at the end, it's like, that was actually meant to be a dream sequence. There was going to be no Jason Voorhees. That was until Steve Miner and all of them came in and just threw Jason in there. So, which I guess, it's like, what else can you really do after the first film? Like, if you're making a direct sequel, what else can you really do? Because his mother, Mrs. Voorhees, got beheaded, so it's like, what else can you really do? So, and honestly, to me, I felt like Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees was a much more intimidating than this version of Jason. Also, like, they do bring back Betsy Palmer's Mrs. Voorhees, but she has a very little role, basically. Spoilers for this movie. So, Amy Steele's character Ginny, when being attacked by Jason at the end, decides to put on Mrs. Voorhees' sweater and that, and tries to confuse Jason that it's his mother talking to him, and you start to see a bit of, like, kind of like transitioning back from Betsy Palmer to Amy Steele, and you even hear Betsy Palmer's voice at times. That's all you see of her in this movie, and that's kind of a shame. I think what they should have done maybe is have, to at least utilize Betsy Palmer a lot better, is maybe just use her for flashbacks, maybe showing, like, I don't know, like, just something more than this. With all this said, I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 2 a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I would definitely say this was a downgrade from the first film, because at least the first film also had that, like, mystery aspect to it, like, like that whodunit aspect to the film. So, and just all that other stuff that I liked about the first film. And I know a lot of other people like about the first movie. And just for me, like I said, I feel like this film is unfinished. I think there should have been much more with this movie, but there wasn't. So there you go. So that's going to be it for this review. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.